funny. What I want to talk to you all about, and it's funny because how I don't have my table and all of my stuff, and so I intentionally did not wear a chef's jacket because it somehow becomes intimidating because I have this coat on, and when I'm talking to people and they don't have the coat on, they're like, oh, whatever you do, I probably can't do. So there is nothing between us but a microphone and just some space. I wanted to talk to you all about my philosophy about cooking with love and where that all comes from and what my go-to books are and how I approach seasonal cooking and all of that, and just that little thing of being a super sleuth with a recipe. That's all the stuff I want to talk to you all about. And if I forget any of those things, you raise your hand and say, hey, what about that super sleuth thing? So first of all, you all probably know me from Top Chef, and that's been a whole other thing. And a lot of you probably saw me fail miserably on that last challenge. Those of you who didn't see it, let me just bring you up to speed. I failed miserably on the last challenge. And it happened to be a Southern challenge. I am from Nashville, Tennessee, home of the Grand Ole Opry and the Titans, and I was cooking greens. What? Paula Deen was there, and I fell flat on my face. And she said my hush puppies were like spitballs. Okay, for those of you who didn't see it, you get it? Okay, miserable. Okay, so that's. But anyway, when I talk about cooking with love, it's about being present. And it's about wanting to do that meal. And so often, we will make something because we have to, and you're just like, oh, I'm just going to make this up and go, whatever, here. And they're like, this isn't a winner. This isn't really yummy. And it's not yummy because you really didn't want to do it. So it's just like taking out the trash. You really don't want to take out the trash, and as soon as you get to the dumpster or the bin, the bag falls apart, and trash is all over the place. You're like, see, I knew I didn't want to take out the trash. But the same thing happens when you're making food. So if you are very mindful and each step, for instance, if you are making a carrot soup, it could be the simplest thing. Carrots, onions, some leeks, some chicken stock, salt and pepper. Simple, simple, simple. Okay, some herbs. Okay, all right. And all of those ingredients, you only have a couple. But the thing is, being mindful when you're peeling those carrots, when you're putting the salt in, at the time that you're putting the salt in, when you're caring for it and you're letting it actually simmer, that's when the love goes into that soup. And so what we're talking about here is nothing that is rocket science. It's honoring an ingredient and just saying, you know what? I'm going to put as much care in this ingredient as I do when I get dressed in the morning or when I send my kids off to school with a lunchbox or, you know, all of those things. Another thing that I want to mention, and actually being in this position of where people are looking to me to help guide them through a recipe or their food philosophy or you know, sustainable foods. It's a lot. It's a lot of pressure on me, but I'm like, oh, am I up for this challenge? And that's the big thing. And yes, I am. I am up for the challenge. I want to get you back in the kitchen, and I want you to love it, and I want you to say, oh my God, I took one of your recipes, and I changed it, and I made this fabulous dish. That's what I want. And the reason I do the food that I do on Top Chef, even though it seems really simple, it seems like stuff that you've had over and over again, is because it's supposed to inspire you to say, you know what, I can do that. I can do that, and I can get in the kitchen, I can tweak it a little bit, and it's going to be fabulous, and that's why I'm here. I am here to remind you that every food experience that you've had is okay, and that you can do that food and make it even better and have fun in the kitchen. All right, so, whoo! I'm a cheerleader. I wanted to be a cheerleader. They really didn't put me on the team, and I think it's because I was too tall and gangly, you know. But anyway, somebody give me a recipe. Just give me something that you cook all the time. Nothing hard. I mean, just give me something. Okay, yeah. Okay, you. Cornbread. Okay. Something else. No, the reason I'm saying something else, something like a, like a soup or a, okay. What did you say? You in the blue sweater. You like this. You.
I didn't say it, but I do a fresh codfish and potato soup that I then throw alioli into.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take that because that was really good. Sorry, not too. Okay, so she has this fresh cod soup with potatoes, and she throws an aioli into it. The reason I wanted you all to shout something out at me, and obviously I waited till I wanted to hear the thing that I wanted to hear, but is because I want you, like you do the cod, right? And cod is a flaky fish. It really takes on the flavor of whatever you are serving it with. And then you do potatoes. But the fact that she takes that aioli and puts that in there, she changes the dish. Sometimes in a recipe, you will see, you'll see all these different things listed. And let's say you see herbs listed. Let's say there's thyme in that recipe. But the super sleuth in me says, what else can I do with the thyme? And this is the thing, if you think about your recipes like this, this is when you want to get back in the kitchen and say, oh my God, what can I do? What else can I do with this thing? So let's say you have thyme. You can take that thyme, take your spice grinder, take a little salt or pepper, and then put that thyme in that salt with some lemon zest. And now you have a lemon thyme salt, okay, that you're going to sprinkle over the top of that stew and finish it with. It's just going to be, oh my God, this is so good. What did you do? And then you're going to tell them, like, really, is that all? Right? But the thing is, you know that that little thing made that soup sing, and it made it really special. So let's say you take your cornbread, and you are doing, I said I didn't want to take cornbread, but now that I'm up here in front of you all and I've started this, okay, you're doing this Mexican thing. I mean, what is corn? Corn goes with, well, what does corn go with? Corn goes with tomatoes, corn goes with chilies, corn goes with lots of herbs. Let's say you're doing it with this for a Super Bowl or your party for the Oscars. Okay, you're doing it for the party for the Oscars now, right? You know that, right? But you can get dehydrated corn. You can get the dehydrated corn from Whole Foods, and have various variations of corn. What else is in corn? Fritos. Not that you want to use those, but you've got frozen corn. You've got canned corn. You can intensify the corn of that cornbread. You can add in dehydrated tomatoes, or you can make like a little tomato dust. There are things that you can do with that cornbread where it's yours. And it's unique to you, and it's like, oh my God, I created this really great thing. And the best part about it, and the thing that keeps me going back into the kitchen, is when somebody has something, and they will say, oh my gosh, that was so good. And you're like, oh my God, I know. And you're just so excited and proud of it. That is about getting you back in the kitchen and getting you excited again. And it doesn't have to be hard. What I notice about Top Chef, and my husband reads the blogs, and he will tell me all about the blogs and what these people are saying. And sometimes they're really, really nice, and sometimes they're really, really mean. Okay, like the person who constantly tells me that I'm the cartoon-looking character Fraggle Rock with a giraffe neck. Okay, now I don't think there's any love in that comment, but I did send them a note back and said, thank you, I think. Because, I do have a long neck, and I like it. I kind of look like an Afghan. I know that. But I embrace that part of myself. So, anyway, sorry. I digress. But what I want to tell you is when I'm doing those dishes on Top Chef, and let's say I did the African peanut stew, and it's something that I've done before, but when I was on the show, I wanted to make it more than the thing that I had done. I wanted to elevate the dish. We're constantly trying to elevate our dishes, but the fact is, when you have like 30 minutes to decide and then all of a sudden you're at the store, you have to think fast. So the thing is, I knew what I was going to do, but I didn't know how to jazz it up. So what I did, and in this soup, there are tomatoes and peanut butter and ginger and lime and small red kidney beans. So with all of those ingredients, and sweet potatoes, did I say that? So I made sweet potato chips that goes on top. I made a lime salt that gets sprinkled on the sweet potato chips. I had the beans, so I could fry the beans and toss them in the spice mixture that I used in the soup. So that's another garnish. The thing is, all of this fun that I'm having is just on top in the garnishes, and you all can have that fun too. Right? No. So that is the thing about inspiring people to get back into the kitchen. Now, in the midst of that, that's one example, but in the midst of writing, right now, everyone says, where's your cookbook? But what I hear is, do you want more homework? And honestly, the answer would be no. But I said, how can I turn this experience on Top Chef All-Stars into something that I will benefit from and I can actually share something with people? Because if you're asking, that means you want me to share with you, not through Facebook or Twitter, but something a little more tangible about me. And so I've started this process of writing this proposal for the book. Oh, okay. I'm thinking, is that me doing that? I just wanted to make sure it wasn't me. Okay. So in the process of doing this proposal, I have learned so much about myself. And it was actually my fans who helped me understand that I am coming back into Southern food. Because they're like, oh, yeah, you're the girl that does the Southern food, the comfort food. I'm like, I am? I didn't see myself that way. I mean, I was running from it, you know. As Americans, I don't think we value our American food. I just don't think we do. As a whole, I don't think we do. And I know I see it on the show because I know when we do something like the pot pie. I mean, people are like, oh my God, I'm so glad you did the pot pie. And other people are like, pot pie, you won with pot pie? I mean, really? I mean, really, you won with pot pie. I mean, Dale won with a soup and a grilled cheese sandwich a couple weeks ago, right? But I'm just saying, because at the end of the day, that's the kind of food that we want to eat. We do want to have that intellectual experience, and we want to go and dine and have all of these, oh my God, look what they did with that foam. Oh my God, what, they cooked this in a bag? You're kidding me. Oh, is that called what? Sous vide. Okay. But I'm saying, when you go to a play, a feel-good play like Lion King, you want to go to that play several times, right? There's some plays you only want to see once. That's what I'm saying. It's the kind of food, but I want to make the food that you want to have all the time. And that's what we're talking about. And it's that kind of food that's going to, right, that's the kind of food that's going to excite you and get you back in the kitchen. So coming full circle, here I am writing this proposal, and I'm learning more about myself. And when I grew up in the South, like I said, I did not cook when I was growing up. I started cooking when I was like 20-something. When I made a tomato soup at 26 for some friends, they were like, what is this? I think I must have put, okay, I was definitely standing here this time. I must have put 5 cans of tomato paste in that one. There is redemption, y'all. If you didn't cook, if you don't cook, there is redemption. I mean, you know, I went from 5 cans of tomato paste and 1 pot of soup to being on Top Chef All-Stars. So, like, what can I say? Okay, you can do it. You too can do it. And so I finally went to culinary school. I went to l'Académie des Cuisines, and I was like, oh my gosh. But before that, I had the lunch bunch. For 5 years, I was the lunch lady, and I was carrying my wicker bassinets with all of my food that I started my company as a fluke, taking lunch to a friend. Let's say you were my friend. And you're like, oh, Carla, come in, you know, why don't you bring some of the leftovers from the baby shower that you did for your sister? And I was like, okay. So I get there, and my brother-in-law had eaten the leftovers. So I'm like, really? I mean, really? I am living in their house, but really? So I made some things really quickly. I get them, like, what am I going to put in? So I just put all the extras. And so I get there, and I'm like, oh, here's your lunch. And you say, wow. You did! Were you there? And you turn to your boss and say, Carla has a new business. And he says, what's the name of your business? The Lunch Basket. Well, when are you coming back? Tomorrow. And the business was born. And I was back the next day. I hit the pavement. I went door to door to hair salons and barbershops and doctor's offices. And I had 7 clients in a week and 14 in 2 weeks. And I did that for 5 years before I went to culinary school. So just background information. So when I went to culinary school, I had the experience, because here I am, cooking, but I didn't have the theory. So I went to put the theory behind the experience, and so I backed into it. And so when I went to school, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so I'm like, now I am above my home cooking, all the stuff that I did, I'm above that. And now I'm just want to do French food. And Granny, I know you're 80-some years old, honey, but that sauce that you've been making is broken. Right? And here I am, like, telling people about their food. And now seeing, and after having all of those wonderful people tell me that I was making comfort food and I didn't realize it, I'm like, yes, I am. And yes, I am proud of it. And yes, this is what I want to do. So, and it is a choice. It's not, and Fabio had made a comment, I love him. No, I really do. He did make the comment, said, Carla and I are one-note chefs. She makes comfort food. That's all she does. I'm just saying, just in case you didn't read his blog. No, I'm just kidding. So, but the thing is, and that's okay that he said that, but for me, it is a choice, and it is a conscious choice, because I'm like, if I can do this food and inspire people to get back in the kitchen doing this food, then I have done, something very special that I think that we are talking about in America. And what we're talking about is inspiring people to get back into the kitchen, to stop going and eating out and having all of this packaged food that is really doing us more harm than good. So if that is being a one-note chef, then I will happily take that on and say, yes, I'm a one-note chef, and I want you all to play these one notes. Well, this one note. Sorry, English is my that's first language. Again, after I left, so what I did with now what I do is I take the theory that I learned and I apply it to comfort foods, and I'm always trying to make it new, but still make it something memorable. Some of you guys watch American Idol. Yeah, I'm not too proud to say I do too. And it makes me watch too much TV because I'm like, okay, well, those 2-hour shows, really? Don't you know I have work to do? But I still have to watch them. Anyway, when you have somebody, right? But when you have somebody on stage and they've taken a classic song, they had the Beatles last week, and or this week. When they take a classic song, then they change it so much that you don't recognize the song. That's not what we're talking about here. What I'm talking about is taking a dish that you recognize that is really wonderful and warm and feels warm in your heart, and you just change it with garnishes to make it new to you and to the people that you're serving it for, so it still has that comfort feeling. Some of the best challenges, I think, for me on Top Chef is when people say, oh, for my last meal, or with Jacques Pepin, it was the last meal challenge, the last supper challenge, and so we had to do what they wanted as their last meal. As a food memory, I don't want foam and sous vide. I want something that is going to hug me as I leave this place. And for Jimmy Fallon, he had all of these wonderful dishes that he loved, and thankfully it was chicken pot pie, but that is what people want. And so I think that we start there. Yes, we do want to go out and have these wonderful meals where the chef's minds are just like all out in the ethers. That's awesome. But at the end of the day, I want to inspire people just to get back. I know I keep saying that, just to get back into the kitchen. Okay. So, I'm sorry, that gets me every time. It's just, so the other thing that I want to share with you is just some books that I love. That's what I wanted to share with you. One of the books that I've had this for a while, and this is even though this is a baking book, and this is how I think about food, is Lisa Yackelsen's Baking by Flavor. And the reason I like this is because she breaks down the various flavors, like, for instance, vanilla or chocolate. And in that section, she will say what you're going to do with it or what you're going to pair with it. And the thing is, she layers flavors. So if it's chocolate, she's using cocoa nibs, she's using cocoa powder, she's using chocolate. That's how you think about just your regular food. Okay. The book is not in here because it's somewhere else. This book, I'm passing this around you all. This book, The Flavor Bible, by Karen Page and Andrew Dorenberg. This is my Ace Boom Coon book. It's not in here because it's at home, and I'm constantly looking at it. This is how you cheat the chefs. This, do you know this book? Isn't it? She's doing like this. Fabulous. And let me tell you why it's fabulous. Because of the way it's broken down into seasons, it's broken down into cuisines, it's broken down into ingredients, so that when you are looking up zucchini, you will see everything that goes with zucchini. When you're looking up apples, thank you. It tells you everything that goes with apples so that you can create your own dish. Now, cross-reference, because if you throw something in there that doesn't go with something else, you know. But the thing is, this is one of the things that helps you to be a super sleuth with your recipes. If you want to update your recipes and you get this book, then you can add in an ingredient that you wouldn't have thought of that will totally change the way that you thought about that dish. And that's what keeps it fresh. And staying fresh and making it fun is the thing that keeps you in the kitchen. I'll pass this around. Yes?
Is it in print?
Oh, yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
I mean, both of those are available.
Yes, 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 absolutely. I was just about to say, other books? I do have other books. No, I wasn't, but I do. I usually take my covers off my books because I don't like them to get all messed up. But this is Michel Richard's Happy in the Kitchen. And what I love, I grabbed it because I love the illustrations. Again, he shows you how to use food in a different way, but it's really technical the way that he approaches it, but it's so yummy. For instance, I learned in this book how to take those dehydrated, he actually took the dehydrated raspberries in one of the recipes and put it in sugar. I'm like, huh. Well, if you can take the dehydrated raspberries and put it in sugar, then you can take dehydrated peas and put it in salt. You can take dehydrated tomatoes. All of those dehydrated fruits and vegetables, that's what you do with them. You don't have to just have them as snack, which is great, but you can use them in your recipes. You see? I know, is it all unfolding? The Super Sleuth starts thing. Okay, the other book that I love is the charcuterie book. I mean, the chefs are all talking about their sausages and all of this stuff, but you know, I don't know if you guys are going to go out and hang your own meat, seriously. I mean, you know, unless it's somebody you're upset with. But, sorry, that, I know, sorry. But in this book, what it does, it gets you excited about putting certain things together. So if you're doing a charcuterie board with your cheese, maybe you want to make your own mayonnaise or mustard to go with that. It's these kinds of books. And I know you all are buying books anyway because, you know, it's a big business. But I would go to the library and borrow it instead of buying all these books. I mean, the books are going to move us out of house and home, right? Somebody was telling me that they were so excited that they had like 2,000 cookbooks in their house. I'm like, do you live there? I mean, really, where do you sleep? But the point is to try to just recreate these dishes. Somebody else give me something. Give me something that, oh my God, okay. Cooksillustrated.com. I call her Cookie. I'm like, let me go consult with Cookie. Cooksillustrated.com. Killer. It's perfect. And the reason I like it is because you can build on the recipe, and those recipes work. It's all about, you know, they totally work. So sometimes, even if a recipe goes awry, and so often I will be making something. Last night, Candace and I had a dinner. It was with Edna Lewis. And it was in honor of her. Do you all know Edna Lewis, the black woman who's from Virginia, who's a cookbook writer and chef? Wonderful, wonderful food. When you read her books, you're just like, oh my God, I want that. So there was a historian there, and we were supposed to make this dinner. And I'm like, oh, how much leeway? Because I'm like, a historian, her sister's going to be there, you know, and I don't want to, like, you know, technical term, jack it up. So we were doing chicken and dumplings. We started out with a salad, watercress, and in the cookbook it was watercress, wild watercress I think she called it wild watercress with vinaigrette. And it was a simple vinaigrette with dried mustard and apple cider vinegar and salt and pepper, yada, yada, yada. And then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you know, I can't just do that. I just can't, because I think that salad by itself is just too plain. And watercress is really nice when there's a protein with it or something else, because it's so peppery. I think that it's just too much. So I decided to pair it with spiced candied walnuts and then pear and a smoky blue cheese. So a little point in case, sometimes when you're doing like your fruit, and if you're catering a party, I mean, like even if it's 8 at your house, you take the vinaigrette, instead of like just plain lemon juice, take the vinaigrette and toss the fruit in that so that it has some flavor. And it can sit to the side, right? And just don't cut them too thinly. And so we had that, so that was awesome. And then we did the chicken and dumplings, which I was so excited about. And we had these beautiful chickens from a farm in Virginia, but they were like 24 months old. Now, you all are used to eating 8-week-old chickens. This chicken was like, oh. I mean, yeah, this chicken was in line for composting. No, I mean, seriously, he said, I mean, I'm not being ugly. The guy said, you know, if I didn't use them, it was going to go into composting. So it's this really tough bird, but flavorful. Oh, my God. Sorry. But the flavor that comes from that chicken, you all, if ever you have an opportunity to get some of those old birds, sorry. Please, you totally have to do it. It's this richness. I mean, it's almost like, you know it's chicken, but it's almost, the mouthfeel is like beef because it's so dark. It's amazing. It's amazing. So in this recipe, it was just the plain chicken and dumplings. And then you have just the chicken broth and the chicken. I was like, oh, I love you, Edna, but I got to do something else with this dish. So I had the mirepoix, and you all know my song. You know my song, right? I believe in mirepoix, there, you sexy carrots, and onions too, celery. I believe in mirepoix. Okay, so you will never think of carrots, onions, celery the same again. I'm sorry about that. I apologize that you will never think of the same again. So I added the mirepoix. I know Candace is like, no, she didn't. Okay. So I added the mirepoix to the soup, but then I also, to the dumplings, I added lemon and parsley. And I'm not, and because I like lemon with chicken, I'm saying when you have a recipe and you want to add a little oompa, don't be afraid. Just to add something else to it. And this is one of the things, if ever I do a cooking show, I'm doing it and I'm going to mess up. I'm going to be on that camera. I'm not going to be dumping smaller bowls into bigger bowls because that's not fun and that's not exciting. No, and it's like a yawn. But what I'm going to do is I'm like, throw anything to me where it's not going to work so that I can fix it on camera so that people can feel like, oh, I can do that too. I mean, that's why we love Julia. She messed up and she was like, oh, no problem. Let's call it something else. No big deal. And that's the thing. And I think that with all that we're learning about food and with all of this about being a foodie, it makes you, people are still saying, oh my God, you have to tint the meat, you have to do this. They're so tense about it that they've taken the fun out of it. Because now you think that you have to compete with these people who are on television who are never messing up. I know, and they've already put 5 hours into that 30-minute segment. But you're like, oh my God, I know that I can do this in 30 minutes because they say I can do it in 30 minutes. Oh my God, oh, I can't bother about the thing I just cut off because I know I can do it. I know I can do it. You get so tense about making the food, and then you're like, is it good? And all of that tension is going into that dish, and it's no longer fun. And I think that's what we have to get back to. If you mess up, you mess up. I mean, what is it, $20, $10? Or you could have created something else, So, don't take yourself so seriously in the kitchen. Even when, you guys, when I made that undone tape, oh, some of you haven't seen the show, but I made quinoa. It wasn't done, so I called it the andante quinoa. And I was like, it just wasn't done. I'm laughing at the dish. I can laugh at myself. You know, hey, it happens. You have a bad day, but it goes on. I mean, I mess up in front of millions of people on television. You can mess up in front of, like, you know, 2 or 3 or 4, you know, but just have fun and get in there and just say, you know what, I'm gonna give myself permission to mess up today. And you probably won't, because you have taken all of the pressure off yourself. And that's what happens to me on the show. When I take the pressure off myself to produce, I make better food. I will mess up again. I just want you all to know. Like with Paula Deen, seeing her come through that door, I'm like, oh my God, I love her, I love her, I gotta make great food. Oh my God, I'm Southern, she's Southern, and we have to like be Southerners together in this thing. And I made spitballs. She called them little things spitballs. But I'm just saying, and that's what happens. I know that happens to me, and so it probably happens to you. And, but any questions? I know I've been going on and on and on.
I can't watch those shows because of the way everybody gets so tense and so crazy. I couldn't eat anything that any of those people prepared.
I know. Seriously, and you know, you all know what I say. If you're not in a good mood, the only thing you should make is a reservation. And when you're making that food out of that stressful energy, and I think this is why sometimes the viewers are like, wait, that dish didn't seem that great. That person did a really great dish. But those judges are tasting our emotions. And it's no wonder that grilled cheese and tomato soup won, because he probably was like, you know what, this is what I'm doing. I'm just going to honor this. I'm going to just make this dish, make it good, use an iron to flatten it out. And yeah, it was a good dish. On the other hand, I was stressing out. Okay, can we talk about that? Well, I am in Target. Where are the tablecloths? Did you guys see? You didn't see? Okay, sorry. So here we are. Sorry, y'all. Here's the challenge. We're in Target. We have 3 hours to set our tables up. We have no knives, nothing. We have to get our tables. We have to get the appliances to make our dishes. We have to get the knives to cut the food, the peelers, everything. We have nothing.
What's the point of that?
Girl. I don't know. But because we were in Target, because there was a designer, Thomas O'Brien there, so he was there. They told us there's a designer. They were going to set the room up beautifully. I'm thinking, okay, as a caterer, this is full-on catering, where I get a table, I get a tablecloth, I get all of my beautiful things to beautify my table, just like you would if you would go to the Taste of DC or whatever. People have decorated their tables, right? So in my head, this is what has to be done. We're in Target. I mean, as much energy as I have up here, and I am a big kid, when I see those open aisles and I know that there's nobody else in there, I'm like this. Okay, I'm like, well, I just want to run. They have me, this is editing. Where are the tablecloths? So I just want to get that out there. When you see these things.
Oh, it made you look like you spent the entire time.
Yeah, exactly. Now and they kept playing it over and over and over. But the thing was, none of the guys had tablecloths on their tables. They just didn't bother. They're like, ooh, what was it? Okay, I'm sorry, I had to get that off my chest, y'all. I don't know really where it fits into my topic, but it's an illusion. Sometimes it's an illusion. And but are there any questions? Yes.
We've been talking about fresh vegetables today, and in looking through French cookbooks and sort of continental cookbooks, we tend to leave our vegetables plain with nothing except salt and pepper and butter. And in French recipes, they're always adding onions and cream or something. And I just wondered if you have some reflections on the whole issue of fresh vegetables. What you like, what you don't like.
Yes. I was so excited about that question. As soon as you said, we've been talking about fresh vegetables, I'm like, and I hear my mother's voice, Carla, wait for the question. So I love veggies. I love vegetables. I tell people that the vegetables should be the center of the plate. Everything works out from that. The vegetables are going to tell you what's in season. I mean, except unless you're doing lamb or something like that, right? Spring lamb, you know, okay. When I'm doing, let's say collard greens, and, but from growing up, my experience of collard greens is maybe ham hocks and all of that. I'm not saying that that's not good, but I don't eat like that every day. I always think a really quick fix for veggies, gremolata. Lemon zest, garlic, olive oil, parsley, okay, a gremolata. I make my collard greens, I'll do them a little chiffonade, and I would do a quick saute, and I add that gremolata in, and just imagine the bitterness of the collard greens, and actually when you quick saute them, they're actually sweet. And then I saute Brussels sprout leaves in that mixture, and then with the gremolata, peacock. I'm telling you, the flavors just bloom. Another thing to use, pestos. So if you're doing like an arugula pesto tossed in green beans, fabulous. Really, really nice. Goes really nicely with grilled meats and stuff like that. Carrots, I oftentimes will take, carrots can take spice. So, I mean, you can go the sweet route, but they can take spice. So if you have some kind of a spice blend, like harissa or berbere or something like that, toss your carrots in olive oil and then the spice and just bake them in the oven. They peacock. Fennel and lemon, beautiful. Cauliflower, I love cauliflower, especially in the winter. But I honestly like cauliflower really plain, but if you look in Indian cookbooks, they use a lot of cauliflower. So you can use like the cumin seeds and the garlic and some of those things. Because I think that when you make the vegetables interesting, because what was happening, I think, back in the day, the veggies were like an adjunct to the meat. And because we're talking about seasonality, and that defines the season, then they should be, the veggies should be celebrated, and then you add the meat on top of that. Of course, summer is like one of my all-time favorite seasons. And when you are doing like a ratatouille, and all of those ingredients are in season, a lot of times what I will do with some of the things that are in season is make really thin broths, so that I can take that broth and add it to my grits, I can add it to my risotto, and then you are adding all of these really nice veggies. While you're making like your wonderful vegetables, you may as well do a little broth like corn water, tomato water, watermelon water, and use these as broths to poach your cod or to, you know, all of these different things. It's just yummy, yummy, yummy. That being said, when you're doing these vegetable stocks, and I hope I'm not going too fast because I'm so excited about the question. Use tea bags. Maybe use, I think I talked about this last time. Use herbal tea bags. So if you have ginger tea or some kind of beautiful lavender tea, you can use that in your rice. You can use it in your broth. You can use it in like your blanching water for your veggies, and that adds more flavor. You see? Again, these are like the little flavor bouquets, like the bouquet garni, but it comes in a tea bag. I mean, you already have it there in your house, you know? So, yeah. Yes, you're welcome.
What kind of, did you grow up with any kind of ethnic food, or what kind of food did you eat when you were young? Vegetables, or I mean, what's your...
That's a really, really good question. My grandmother, on Sundays, we had what I remember being full-on balanced meals. I mean, it was your typical Southern food. I don't remember having a lot of fish until I went to culinary school. My mother didn't cook. We had catfish. I had never had fresh tuna. We did country ham. We did my mother never made fried chicken. My grandmother did. I had fried chicken in other people's homes. We somehow never made it. I've never had a chitlin. Fish sticks. I had fish sticks. That's what I'm like. Why did I have fish? I had fish sticks. Yeah. Yeah, I had fish sticks and pancakes for dinner and meatloaf and roast and all of that kind of stuff. So my grilled cheese is, oh, speaking of grilled cheese, somebody say grilled cheese? Oh, macaroni and cheese. Yeah, I had macaroni and cheese. And what's very interesting in this process of the book, of doing the proposal for the book, the writer, the person who's co-writing with me, she calls it baked macaroni and cheese. And I said, in my culture, there is no other macaroni and cheese. So we don't call it baked macaroni and cheese. It's macaroni and cheese. There was no box. There's no saucy thing, blue blocks. No, none of that. But speaking of grilled cheese is a perfect carrier for like a wonderful pesto, like to update your grilled cheeses. So if you did a broccoli pesto, you can do that with broccoli pesto and cheddar cheese. If you do like an arugula pesto, it's really nice with Havarti cheese, you know, and you can just mix it up, or arugula and artichoke pesto. Really, really yummy. So just pea pesto, pea and mint pesto. The thing is, that's a really great way to use seasonal ingredients and just get some flavor in there. Pea pesto would be amazing. And the thing is, the pea season is so short, so if you buy them, and pestos freeze really well, make your stuff, put it in the freezer, and just pull it out. And yummy, yummy, yummy. I love peas. So I went through this whole thing of what can I do with peas? Whoa. What else can I do with peas? And so when peas are out of season, I take the green beans and I cut them in little rounds as peas pretending to be, green beans pretending to be peas. You know, I know, and those, I'm telling you, this is yummy, yummy. Just little rounds, and then I toss that in, you know, herbs and stuff, and yeah. Yes?
Do you ever work with kids and if you do, like, having really...
Do I work with kids? Girl, I'm a 6-foot tall kid. Yes, oh, sorry. Yes, I love kids. I work with the youth garden and Fuel Up to Play 60, yes. That is a really great question, and I tell you, it's a great question. The question is, have I found things that work really well with kids? It's a great question because I believe that I don't want to dummy their food down. I just don't. They need to eat adult food. We need to help them develop their palates, because if they don't, then when they get to be adults, they're like, I don't want that. I don't like that. I don't like that. You know. So a friend of mine wrote this book called My 2-Year-Old Eats Octopus. Nancy Tringali. And when I go to the youth garden, we had done these, whenever I'm working with kids and I do demos, I always try to get them to use their hands to discover, and I do a lot with Common Threads too, and it's this after-school program where you take, the principle is Art Smith's organization. The principle is that the common thread of all the people in the world is food. And so they have different cuisines, and the kids will come in and do these simple recipes of different cuisines. And they are amazed. If they are making it, they tend to like it. If they understand what is in it. Don't try to slip anything in there, you know. Don't try to trick them, you know. Just honor them as little people. So when I do, one thing that I've done with kids were quesadillas, and it's a whole wheat quesadilla so they get to make the black beans and all of that stuff. But when we're at the garden, the quesadilla is great because you pick whatever's there and you can put whatever in the quesadilla. And we just knew these kids weren't going to like the egg. It was eggplant and squash, and they were like, eggplant, you put squash in it. They were excited because they were a part of the process. And I think that for us, if we become part of the process, then we like it. We went through this phase where, and I have to tell you, I have to be honest with you, at home, I don't cook that much because I cook at the office, okay? But my husband cooks, but the more he cooks and we talk, and I said, you know what, I have to be more involved. And making that decision to get back into the kitchen with him is really, really fun. I mean, it's nice. It's challenging sometimes, and sometimes I just want to do something quick, but then you pull those recipes out that are really quick. Ticky-boo, pressure cooker, you need a pressure cooker because you can do something that normally takes an hour, now it takes 30 minutes. So it's little things that you can do. But for kids, I say challenge them and let them explore and say, oh, what do you think about this vegetable? What do you think this is? Yeah. So, yes. Any other questions? Yes.
Have you done anything with gluten-free recipes?
I have. Right now, my body doesn't like gluten, and but I eat it because I just choose to feel badly. Seriously, when having a pizza or a sub or even pasta is just, I know that I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to be, all of that stuff is going to just be in my throat. I'm going to be coughing all night. I'm not going to be able to breathe and I can't swallow. But I convinced myself that it was worth it for that dish. Anyway, I do, with my cookies, I do 3 of them gluten-free. Right now I'm doing the sweet and savory cookie line. And so I have 3 that are gluten-free, and I'm constantly playing and trying that. So yes, and I had a couple clients. You all know I'm a recovering caterer. Hi, my name is Carla. It's been 49 days since my last catering job. Hi, Carla, I keep coming back. But I did have clients who had the gluten sensitivity, and it's actually quite fun to try to create, wonderful things. But when you think about it, even with food combining, if you're doing vegetables and meat and bread with vegetables, you don't combine them anyway. So that's how I think to eat, So I do meat with veggies and bread with veggies. Yeah, I don't do meat and starches when I'm conscious, except with that hamburger and the French fries.
Do you have any cookbook to recommend for gluten-free, how to combine flours?
There's a woman, and I'll have to give this information to Mark, but she has a blog about gluten-free, and apparently she is the guru. She's the real guru, but I'll find out who that is. But she has a lot of resources on her blog, and yeah.
Jules gluten-free.
Is that who?
Yeah, she's up in Laurel.
Is she in Laurel?
Yeah, or Columbia.
I heard about her in New York, but I guess it doesn't matter if you have a blog where you are.
They sell the 5-pound thing of flour. It's the best gluten-free. My wife. So it's the best gluten-free flour out there that we've found.
See, there you go.
You can make like good bread.
Yeah.
Just like bread.
And that's huge. Yeah, that's really. I mean, the thing is, that you get something gluten-free, and it's not like a weight or a weapon or, yeah, a doorstop. Yeah. Yes.
This is not a food question necessarily, but there's a fairly large group of us now called Green Wheaten, and one of the things that we've been focusing on is how to integrate one of the things that people always think about in wheaten, which is food, and ethnic food and everything, with educating people about where food comes from, how to cook it, and so I'm just kind of throwing this out. We would love to talk. We've actually talked about talking to you to see if you have any ideas on how with the whole wheaten redevelopment, if there's some way we can integrate both in what they're doing with redevelopment and programmatically and with community gardens. Anyway, into this whole.
I think you have to start with the people who are in those restaurants, because, and see, that's the thing. When I go to, sometimes if I go to like Restaurant Depot or whatever, and I'm getting the raw product and I see all of this prepared stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm cringing knowing that when you go to a fast food place, people are just picking up these cans and then turning it around and serving it to people. I think if you get to the people, you have to get to the people who are making the food in those restaurants. And I think one of the things, I know Common Threads is doing an event. It's called a World Festival. And I said what we need to do is to get the people in these smaller ethnic restaurants involved, because it's always the same people at these events in DC. I mean, you have Riz Lacoste, you have Michelle Richard, you have all of these same people who know about food. But what we need to do is to take another chef and shadow with some of the people at these restaurants, and just like in the schools, and shadow them and say, oh, what do you do? Can you show me how to do that? And what are you making, and where do you get your veggies? And, oh, have you thought about doing this? Because you can't go in there like gangbusters and saying, change your ways. But it becomes part of the process and getting them involved in some of the events that the other chefs around the city are involved in. Because I thought about, it would be great if like Todd Gray could shadow some other ethnic restaurant and have them come to these events that they're never invited to because they, for whatever reason. Not that they're not invited, they just don't do them.
But anyway, for later, we'd love to talk more about it.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, I would love to do that. Yes?
Do you find that there's much interest in vegetarian or vegan foods?
Yes, I do. I have to tell you, I do cooking classes, and it started out with Groupon. And a funny story, I had a class, and then somebody raises their hand, and I said, oh, I'm sorry, everything that I'm having tonight has dairy in it. I'm so sorry, I hope no one's vegan. I mean, but it was cod, it was duck, right? And this girl raises her hand on the front row. I said, stop playing. She said, no, I'm vegan. What are you doing in this class? I spent all day, I spent the whole class trying to make her food at the front when the other food was coming out. But I constantly emails about vegetarian food, constantly emails about vegan. And one of the things that I do in terms of vegan food, and I think of vegan and kosher in my head the same. So you can, instead of using cream, like for a soup, you can use the silken tofu to whiz in there, and it's a nice mouthfeel, and you're even getting that extra protein. But yeah, I actually shared a kitchen space with a vegan caterer, and she was always busy. That was Gail's vegetarian catering, but I don't know if she's doing it anymore. Yeah. So you guys, thank you. It's 4 o'clock. I really enjoyed myself. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. I can talk to you guys as you're leaving, and you know, if you want to ask other questions that you didn't get answered. I do. My website is alchemybycarlahall.com, and we're constantly trying to do more to it. I keep threatening to actually write something on the blog.